Hey guys, what's up? It's WolfX23, and today we're going to be talking about the 3D $1,000,000 coin that I kind of showed on Instagram. So check that out if you guys haven't already. I'm using Blender to make the coin in 3D. It actually has been a while since I've touched Blender. I used to make little jets and some characters trying to kind of learn how 3D works. And now I'm making coins. So I'm gonna pause the time lapse right here just to talk about our concept art. So the idea behind the logo was, at first we wanted something with currency, and our first idea was dollar bills. You know, just having $1,000,000 bill. And that sounded cool like in theory, but then when you think about 3D, how are the dollar bills gonna look and stuff like that, it kind of made no sense. The dollar bill worked good as a business card, something flashy, but when it came to something 3D, we figured it'll actually be better if we just made a coin, because the coin could be gold, and then since it's gold, it could have like a shine to it. And when it came to 3D, we could have the coin flip, we could have the coin twirl. So it worked way better having it as a coin rather than a dollar bill. So before you guys step into Blender or you start working on your logo, try to make sure that the logo itself makes sense before you waste time. Because imagine I started this whole project, I did the dollar bill, and then I'm thinking, oh wait, how are we going to animate this? And then I just basically wasted my time. Us taking out the dollar bill in the beginning is actually a good move, because now we have a coin, and it was so much easier to animate because I already knew what type of end goal I wanted before I even started working on Blender. So that's just a quick tip. If you're ever working on something, make sure that what you create is going to work in the long run on different mediums. All right, so the first step to create anything is you got to make sure you have the basic shape. No matter what it is you're creating, whether it's a crazy truck or just a simple coin, there's always a simple basic shape, either a triangle, square, or a cylinder. So for a coin, it's obviously going to be the cylinder. Right now I'm making squares just so I could block out a simple scene. I'm basically going to have these walls where the light can be reflected off of the coin, and the walls will just be like a tester, a stand-in. If I wanted to put these coins in 3D space or in front of a scene on a camera, I could replace those walls with whatever the light is. So don't let the walls distract you. It's just the walls could be anything. I'm only using it as a reference so I could see how my coin looks in different worlds. So I'm bringing in the camera. For some reason the camera wasn't straight, so I'm just kind of aligning it. The walls are done. I have the colors on them. The only thing I have to do now is bring in my reference that I was talking about earlier. When it comes to 3D, you kind of want to have a reference. That way, even though you're converting it to a different medium, you want to make sure that your design is consistent, and you want to make sure that you're translating that well in 3D. Even though there's some sacrifices you have to make. For example, everything in art, it looks good in its perspective, but when you do it in 3D, there's certain things that don't translate well. You got to find the middle ground between 2D and 3D. Pretty much figure out what compromises are you going to have to make sure this works in 3D, and how can you still keep the same message, the same theme that you get from your logo in 2D onto 3D. That's basically the biggest challenge of trying to create these things. All right, so once you have your basic shape, you have everything aligned, the reference is lining up with your 3D starter kind of rough concept. The next step is you want to cut your object in half. That way you could set up your mirror modifier. So even though I'm making a coin, technically I could cut the coin in half and design one side of the coin and have the computer reflect whatever I design on one side onto the other side. And that's the beauty of the mirror modifier, because you only have to work on half of the project and the computer does the other half by just mirroring what you complete. This is actually going to help because since both sides are going to look the same, it's not like you're going to have one edge that's flat and then another edge that has the logo. You're going to see both sides with the logo. And I think that's going to be a cool effect for this intro at least. Alright, so the first tool you're gonna see me use is the inset tool, and the shortcut for that is I on your keyboard. What that basically does is on the top of the coin you see a circle, and if I press I, it's gonna make a smaller circle. And by using scale S to scale, I could change the inner shape of it. And you're gonna see how I use that to make a little bit of a ridge on the outside of the coin. You really wanna focus on the little details, because all those little details will add up and really make the overall model look more complex than what it is. I already had the basic shape from the start of the coin, but I added this extra ridge just to give it that extra detail and sort of make it pop and make it look a little bit different than just a simple cylinder that looks like a coin. So after I put the gold on the coin, I started testing the light just to make sure that everything's looking fine. And you really wanna render a lot while you're building your model, because you wanna make sure that you're catching anything that looks off as soon as it happens. If you find out that the gold is really off later on, you're gonna realize you wasted your time. So make sure you're rendering, make sure you're checking every single angle, make sure all your faces are aligning, all that. Make sure you're always just regularly checking. And on top of that, make sure you're saving. Make sure you're putting a lot of saves in your projects, because working with 3D, you're gonna have a lot of issues where data just stops, corrupts, all that. So prepare for that by just pressing save every minute. Every time you do something that's gonna require a lot of computer power, make sure you save. Here's where the reference is really gonna help you out. Basically, I'm trying to align the shape of the coin with the E that I'm going to extrude from the middle. It's not as simple as just make an E in the middle, because with 3D, everything has to sort of be symmetrical in order to look good under lighting. You really want to work on something called topology, and that's essentially how your shape looks and how the light will reflect off of it. So for this coin, since it's very shiny, I need to make sure my coin is very smooth, and that all comes down to symmetry and just simplicity. But that just comes with experience, and that also comes with knowledge of how to form things in 3D. So now that I have the outside shape of the coin, it's time that I start creating the inside E. First, I'm going to start with the vertices, which is the single dots, then make a line, and then try to make sure my lines match up. That way I can make faces. So the best kind of faces to have when you're doing 3D models is a plane, and a plane is just pretty much a quad. So 4 vertices, and it's a flat square. The reason why is because the computer can easily calculate how a ray of light will reflect off of a plane, a quad. But if you have something like a triangle, the computer is going to have a hard time trying to calculate how the light should react towards a triangle. There's also things like when you use a subsurface modifier, which kind of divides your model into different pieces just to make it seem like it has more detail and also make it more smooth. Well, when you come across a triangle, the computer has trouble trying to divide it evenly. Because if you look at a triangle, you can't really divide that evenly. But if you look at a square, it's very easy to subdivide that. Because squares are easy, squares are simple, triangles are bad. So here's like the fun part where you finally get to see where everything's leading up to. I'm selecting the E and I'm extruding it. The first time didn't really work too well. It kind of didn't do the effect I wanted. So I did do it a couple of times. But it's so cool to finally just see the coin take shape, because up until now we just had a flat coin. So yeah, I tried it again. So I give it a second shot. I select the E one more time. I extrude it, and it's starting to look like the shape that I actually want. I press I to inset it, scale it, and if you notice on the edges of the E, it has a nice little like smooth curve. So that's thanks to S and I. So scale and then inset with I. I gave it one more outline with the E, just to make sure that the edges are very sharp and then the corners are actually very smooth. So it creates that nice effect. I went back to the gold color and I changed it just to make sure it's more shiny. And now I'm starting to see that the E is really coming together. Alright, so right now I'm just checking all the angles, Because when you do 3D, you want to make sure that it doesn't matter what angle it is, just making sure that that product or whatever you're designing looks just as good. I'm making sure to save in case I add anything new, but I really like this first version that I created, so I save a good version of that. Now I'm setting up my coin so I could do a little test render just to make sure the shine and everything is looking good on camera. So the best part about 3D is once you have your object ready to go, then you could start playing around with it. If you want, you could flip the coin, you could duplicate it. So right now I have this vision to show like multiple coins sort of falling down as if they fell. And I just want to see that with the gold shine and a blank background just to test it. So at this point, after seeing the picture, I knew that was not enough. I kind of wanted to step back into my 2018 Blender animation mode. I don't know if you guys remember when I released Gamer Are You for official admissions, but I figured why not just add a little bit of movement. So I did that, and it took a couple of days to render because my computer is the definition of slow in slow motion. But once I finally got that up and running, we posted it on Instagram. Emillion really loved it. And this is not bad. This only took an hour and 20 minutes exactly to put together from start to finish. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Anyways, guys, drop a like, comment, subscribe. And if you guys want to see some more Blender time-lapse videos like this, mention that in the comments below and I'll definitely supply you guys with more of that. Anyways, guys, stay creative, join the pack, and I'll see you guys next time.